It was March 26, 1997. San Diego County authorities arrived at a quiet mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California. What they found inside was unlike anything they had ever seen before. Room after room, filled with the bodies of 39 people. Each one neatly laid on a bed or bunk. Each dressed in identical black clothing. Each wearing the same brand of Nike sneakers. And each with a purple shroud covering their face. No signs of violence, no struggle. Just a haunting stillness and a final message. We have exited our human vehicles to board the spacecraft trailing the Hale-Bopp comet. This was no murder scene. This was a planned departure. This is the story of Heaven's Gate, the alien cult that stunned the world. To understand how 39 people could willingly die for an alien spaceship, we must go back to the beginning. The roots of Heaven's Gate stretch to the early 1970s with two people, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. Applewhite, a former music professor from Texas, was battling a mental and spiritual crisis. After a breakdown and losing his job, he met Bonnie Nettles, a nurse with an interest in astrology and theosophy. The two connected instantly. Together, they began forming a belief system that blended Christianity, New Age spirituality, and science fiction. They believed they were the two witnesses described in the Book of Revelation, that Earth was on the verge of being recycled, and the only way to escape was to ascend to the next level. They called themselves Bo and Peep. Later, the Two. And finally, Heaven's Gate. In the mid-1970s, Applewhite and Nettles began recruiting followers across the United States. They held public meetings under the name Human Individual Metamorphosis. At first glance, these were just spiritual seminars, but what they preached was far from ordinary. They claimed that human bodies were mere containers, and that chosen individuals would be upgraded into perfect alien beings, free from disease, death, and desire. Dozens of people gave up everything, families, homes, and jobs to follow them. They lived communally, traveled in campers, and cut ties with the outside world. They adopted new names, no sex, no drugs, no possessions. Just devotion and preparation for the departure. In 1985, Bonnie Nettles died of cancer. This shook the group to its core. She was supposed to ascend physically, not die like a mortal. Applewhite scrambled to reinterpret the doctrine. He told followers that Nettles had returned to the next level ahead of them, that her vehicle, her human body, had simply worn out. This event marked a pivotal shift. Heaven's Gate became darker, more withdrawn, and more radicalized. Applewhite's authority became absolute. His paranoia grew. He began controlling every aspect of his followers' lives, from diet to haircuts. And then, he introduced the idea that the final departure would not be physical, but spiritual. Through death. Throughout the 1990s, Heaven's Gate lived in seclusion. They operated a web design company, Higher Source, to support themselves. Their website still exists today, a digital tombstone. Then came 1997. Astronomers had discovered a bright comet, Hale-Bopp, passing through the solar system, but for Heaven's Gate it was a sign. Applewhite told his followers that a spaceship was hiding in the tail of the comet, that it had come to take them home. But the catch? They had to leave their human bodies behind first. The exit plan was finalized. In late March 1997, the group made their final preparations. They recorded a series of farewell videos, each member expressing joy, peace, and anticipation, smiling, calm, believing. They wore matching black uniforms, each embroidered with the patch Heaven's Gateway Team. They ate their last supper at a local restaurant, salad and turkey pot pie. Waitstaff noted how cheerful and polite they were. Back at the mansion, over 3 days, they took a lethal mix of phenobarbital, applesauce, and vodka. They placed plastic bags over their heads to ensure suffocation. They died in waves, groups assisting the next, until only 2 remained to arrange the last bodies before dying themselves. On March 26th, an anonymous tip led police to the mansion. The scene they discovered was so surreal it defied belief. All 39 bodies were laid out with precision, calm, peaceful. Each wore Nike Decade sneakers, which would soon become infamous, a marketing disaster for the brand. The media exploded. Terms like UFO cult, alien mass suicide, and comet death dominated headlines. People were horrified, but also fascinated. Who were these people? How could they believe something so outrageous? The members of Heaven's Gate came from all walks of life: computer engineers, nurses, a former soldier, even a mother of 5. Most were educated, intelligent, and idealistic. They weren't mad. They weren't violent. They were searching for meaning, for identity, for escape from a world they couldn't reconcile with. Marshall Applewhite gave them answers, certainty, purpose. And tragically, he led them to their deaths. Experts have since dissected the Heaven's Gate case through the lens of cult psychology. Applewhite used a classic structure: isolation. Members lived apart from society. Deprivation. No sex, no possessions, no outside influences. Doctrine over self. Followers were told they were alien souls in human shells. Fear and salvation. Earth was doomed. Only he had the truth. Some even underwent voluntary castration to free themselves from earthly desires. This was more than belief. It was surrender. The aftermath of Heaven's Gate left a lasting scar. It became a case study in mass manipulation. A chilling reminder of how charismatic leadership and existential fear can lead to collective suicide. But it also became pop culture. Satirical websites, t-shirts with Nike cult jokes, even music videos. And while society laughed, families grieved. Children without parents, parents without children, siblings left wondering. Could it have been stopped? A few former members survived, either by leaving earlier or being absent during the event. To this day, at least 2 people maintain the Heaven's Gate website, updating it, responding to emails, and preserving the group's digital legacy. They claim they're loyal servants awaiting their own departure. The cult never truly died.